Hey everybody, I'm Liam,
I'm Colleen.
and we have a very, very special edition of Fresh Forward today. We've got some guests joining us talking all about our um, Bb Ultra Skillshop Day featuring the AI roleplay tool in action. So joining us today, we've got three guests, and we're going to introduce them right after our video. That's right. Hi, Colleen. How are you doing?
I am so well. How are you?
Oh, good. I'm good. I'm excited and also
Well,
terrified because this is like I
new.
just feel like there's a lot
Okay,
today.
but I mean, nobody really knows when they watch this that it's a Monday. And I want to say happy Monday because a lot of people don't like Monday, but because of what's coming up, it's a very happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Colleen.
Thank you.
So good to be here.
Yes.
So yeah, today is a special edition of our Fresh Forward video. We are doing a recap on an event we ran just about a week ago, right? Oh
No.
no, it's almost a month ago.
Ooh. Yep.
Where does the
I
time
know. Well,
go?
we had to reschedule.
That's right.
Scheduling can be tricky.
That's
And
true.
we really did want to do it shortly thereafter, but it will still have the same impact. It's going to be great.
It's going to be amazing,
Yep.
anyways. And it's going to be amazing because we have guests joining us. It's not just the two of us talking at each other.
Nope.
With us is a few folks who were heavily involved in our day. We've got Dom Gore. He is the Senior Director Product Manager of Anthology. Hi, Dom. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Colleen, for inviting me. Yeah, really good. I actually can't believe it's been that long since the actual opening session. It seems like it was yesterday, but no, really good. Sun is shining here in the UK, which is the first, I've got to be honest, for a while. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
it's good. No, but I really appreciate you joining. You let me bring and come into today. So.
Awesome. No, well, we are glad to have you. And Dom was part of our event, flew all the way in just to see us and share some insights and help be part of our day. And a huge part of the day it was. So thanks for joining us at the event and also today, Dom.
Sure.
Also, we have Donald Phillips. He is a faculty at Georgian College and was co-planner of the day. So thank you, Don, for joining us. How are you doing?
Thrilled to be back, get the band back together here. So
Right.
it was an amazing day that came together, and I don't think it could have been better. And I look forward to sharing some of the highlights here.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks to Donald's wisdom and creative um, input, we also stretched out that event and brought in a student, actually a team of students, and representing some of the students that were there today is Sara. Sara, good morning. How are you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So you are a full-time student in the event management program, near and dear to my heart. So thanks for joining us as well. Yeah. So, yeah, folks, thanks for joining us. We've already fed you some questions, but I'm sure this conversation is going to kind of naturally flow. And if I miss some questions, and I miss some questions, and yeah, we'll just kind of see where today goes. But really, the goal is to just kind of reflect on the day that the event that we as it unfolded, talk about kind of what stood out to each of us, because there's a lot of different lenses here, right? We've got us as faculty Blackboard support, but we've also got Anthology that was directly involved. Donald, you're an instructor, Sara, a student. So we've got a whole range of everybody here. So I think maybe just a lob ball question. I'll throw this out to everybody. So we had, I think it was an amazing event, and from some of the feedback from faculty, they thought so as well. But just kind of looking at your own experiences, what made that event so special, do you think?
I'm happy to jump in first. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, kind of being on the product management side and leading the team that sort of manage Blackboard as the LMS and seeing the capabilities of people using that technology actually physically in the classroom, getting their ideas around it, leveraging it. That for me is the key takeaway. It's like really being able to kind of see the benefits of the work that we do, the clients that we work with, the feedback that we get, and then just kind of seeing faculty run with it, their own use cases, their own thought processes, how they interact with that particular tool. That was a key reflection for me. Love to kind of see the interactions that we had and some amazing feedback, some really interesting use cases and ideas that we can take away as well. So yeah, huge one for me.
Right, and you were saying as during the event, there were a couple times you're like, we already actually sent this back to our team, and they're like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So that was really awesome. Cool. Anybody else want to join in there?
Yeah, I think, I would add it was amazing to see faculty from so many different areas. We had people from the arts, we had people from HVAC, we had people from the math and sciences, event management, just people from so many different areas coming up with so many ideas and aha moments throughout the event, and you could feel and hear the buzz through the day and the excitement from the faculty. And then as they were digging in throughout the day and learning more, really just to see those ideas come to fruition. And, Dom mentioned the ideas that came away, and we had boards full of ideas of how faculty could use it.
Right.
Aha moments, and take, some things that maybe Anthology wants to think about in the future. So I thought it was just an amazing part of the day.
Amazing. Yeah, for sure. And how about you, Sara?
I really think that being able to see the faculty ask for their opinions on what I think, because I'm a full-time student, so I've been playing with this thing in class, and it was just really cool to see them getting my opinion and then using my feedback on it to improve more on how they can effectively then communicate it with their students.
Right. And so for folks who are not at the event, the students had a really cool, unique role that I don't think we do often, and certainly not often enough, is to have students involved in that sort of PD sort of session where they were working, but they had 5 students. Is that right, Donald?
I think yes. Yeah, 5 students
joining us throughout and circulating around and there to give that student perspective. So I think it might have been a little humbling for faculty to see students kind of rotating and to be asking for help, but also I think they were really motivated and encouraged by it, right? For sure. Sara, just on that note, what would you say, like thinking back, looking at the ideas that faculty were using, what would you say was one of the most unique or creative examples that you saw faculty come up with the AI tool?
Yeah, one of the ones that really did stand out to me is there was one of the arts teachers who I ended up sitting down with for quite a bit of time, and she actually was getting the AI tool to role play and communicate an art piece from the Cold War, and it was using specific details and information about that art piece that I didn't know about beforehand, and it was able to tell me all about it through this tool, which just was mind-blowing to me, and I didn't know that was something that this application was capable of. So I think just being able to see how it could take a real-life historical art piece and fully communicate and tell me about it and ask me questions in regards to like what I thought, how it made me feel, was really unique and interesting to me.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think you're talking about Judith, and I'm just going to give a shout out to Judith, because she's kind of grabbed this tool with both hands and is so excited about where this tool can go. And she's one of the smiling faces on the recap video that our multimedia specialist has put together for us. But yeah, and she would be one of a few people who originally, I think, had said, oh, I don't really see how this is going to fit into my course, when like just in these anecdotal sort of conversations we had prior. So it was really cool to see her there, and for her to be the example that you've come forward with. Dom, what surprised you, just thinking about, just on the theme of faculty using the tool, what surprised you about how they were engaging with the AI roleplay tool?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I took away from it was just the sheer opportunity of different kind of ideas they brought forward. I mean, Sara just mentioned one of them there, and I saw other people kind of bringing content in and basically asking the AI to actually pushing it to its boundary. I mean, that's one of the interesting things that I saw there, that people really wanting to stretch the kind of how far they could essentially push it. You know, is it going to potentially give the right level of information? You know, is it potentially going to go ahead and hallucinate with that detail? And actually what we found specifically on one use case, the amount of material that was uploaded by one instructor, actually the output there was targeted specifically on that content, and the output that was actually really, really good, and obviously very grounded in the information. So I think it was, yeah, again, sheer volume of use cases, the opportunity for faculty to kind of see the output, and obviously have an opportunity of making tweaks and changes as well, because that's what it's all about. It's about the opportunity of not just taking it directly for face value. You still have the opportunity there to improve, and obviously kind of giving that feedback back to the students as well for them to reflect on it. That was again a key piece for me.
Yeah, amazing. And maybe just to pull that back here, and I'm going to ask Donald to kind of help me retell the origin story, because I think we've just jumped right into how amazing this event felt and some of the results, but this is, and it was something that Dom just said that reminded me that when you're talking about like pushing back and like seeing how far it would go, that all of a sudden brought me back, Donald, to that first meeting when we came up with the event. So maybe I'll let you be the storyteller and remind folks, or tell folks how this event, what's prompted this event and how it kind of came true.
Well, we're kind of full circle here right now, because we are here recording FreshForward, and it was a FreshForward video talking about the AI roleplay functionality that that I had been reviewing, and yet when I looked at Blackboard, it wasn't there. And so reached out to in the Blackboard drop-in session and said, "Hey, my good friend Liam, where's it at?" And lo and behold, it wasn't on. So what should have been a 5-minute conversation.
That was my fault. I know we just kind of like we just skim over that, but Colleen was away and she said, "Liam, you've got one job. Can you just turn this button on Friday?" And I did not.
Well, instead you turned it on to a whole sea of faculty, which have now taken that out to students, because that day you turned it on, and then we said, "Well, hey, there's no one else here. Let's kind of start playing with it." And it was kind of like pair programming at its best, that we spent the next 2.5 hours going through, "Oh, hey, what happens if we do this?" And I think you were actually fingers on keyboard and I'm leaning over your shoulder virtually. And we just came up with so many different ideas, and we said, this is what could really benefit faculty, is that bridge between "that's neat, that's cool," or even the "I'm not sure how I would use that." And we said we need to bridge that gap so that faculty can get their hands on it and move from "that's a cool idea" to now I can see how I can actually use it in my course, in my portfolio. So I think that seed was really less than 3 months before the event, and we were able to pull this all together with the help of Anthology, obviously yourself and Colleen, and just everyone coming together to make it happen. And we had such a fabulous turnout that day as well.
Yeah, and a big part of that day, connecting this to what Dom said, was the pushing it, right? Like, and we just were like, "Oh, I wonder, can we make this help me do a SMART goal?" And we kind of whipped together a prompt and then used the preview chat, and like, "Oh, okay, that's good," except it just kind of skipped right through everything. Like, okay, so now we go back and we iterate, and that was the magic, There's the fact that there were multiple people kind of putting their heads together, and we knew that we can test it and try it again, and we used that as part of the event design of like, okay, we're going to design it, test it, refine it, repeat, right? Design, test, refine, design, test, refine. And I think, we got some really cool end results out of it. So a couple folks I know personally have reached out saying like, we are using this in the course. And you've heard from some folks as well, Donald?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's been incredible is, there was people even that day going, I've already been copying this over to my own Blackboard shell because I can see how I'm going to go use this like tomorrow. And so the fact that they were able to come and attend an event, and so often, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, we go, and now what? And they could see, okay, I can go use this, and have used it, have given us feedback of, I tested it out, I used it, and now, and when people come back with, hey, it would be really great if it could do this, you're like, yes, and right, like this is just amazing, and so we go from people not really touching it to going, well, I'd love to be able to use this in a group conversation. I'd love to be able to do this, and we're like, that's fantastic. How can we use it right now, and how can we use it even more in the future? So it's been amazing to see and love hearing the feedback from not just new or young faculty that are up on AI, but very we'll say seasoned and tenured faculty. Those of us of vintages that are still learning how to spell AI in some cases. So
yeah,
it's been amazing to see.
So the event was amazing. We've got this great backstory. I think maybe it'd be good to kind of ground this too into how, like the point of it all, right? Like, so we had this cool experience where we got a tool that can do some fancy things, but obviously, and I'm a huge advocate for using technology when it actually helps and is not like, I don't like the idea of using technology just for technology's sake. So, and I think it'd be good for anybody who's following along to kind of get everybody's perspective here about how AI will can impact student-teacher interactions or enrich the whole experience in teaching and learning. So I'll kind of open that to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to jump in on that, Liam. I think that interestingly, you said something then around not using technology for technology's sake, and that's a big piece of where we sit on the Anthology side. It's not just about creating technology because it's a buzzword and putting it out there. There has to be a real pedagogical, real world usage of the tools and technologies that we have. And I think that one of the things we talk about, especially when it comes to anything AI related, certainly within inside the LMS, is it needs to have a purpose, and it needs to sort of sit within something we call the middle ground of appropriateness. So it has to be having high impact but low risk. That's the important piece around this. So what are the high impact areas for faculty? What are the high impact areas for students? But then knowing there's some form of guardrail around it. And I think really the focus that we had on certainly the AI conversation, the concepts around Socratic questioning, the role play piece was very much kind of that AI literacy. We hear it a lot. Institutions want to provide students with the ability to engage ethically, but in a trustworthy way around AI technologies, but actually have guardrails around it within an institutional level. They want to support that literacy because they know that students are going to be leveraging these technologies as they move out into it, into the world of work. We know they're ubiquitous. We know there's technologies out there that allow you to go ahead and put a prompt in and produce a 5,000 word essay. What we don't want to go ahead and do is provide an opportunity where it just feels like it's an easier path. It's not about trying to cut corners. It's about providing that level of literacy and engagement. And I think one of the things that we've had from students, and I think Sara, you can potentially attest to this, is kind of the ability for you to reflect on what comes out of that conversation that takes place. It's really about you as the individual student being able to learn what's taking place, actually understand that the AI is actually giving you feedback, but then for you to kind of digest that, take that on board, and then obviously kind of give your own reflections around it. And that's really where we see sort of the benefits of that technology. So again, it's not technology for technology's sake. It's about that literacy and that support of institutional delivery.
Awesome. Yeah, Sara, Donald?
I'd love to hear from Sara. I know we've been using it in the classroom for a number of different sessions. So I'd love to understand, Sara, what's your perspective from that student lens of how that's impacting the interactions, not only with faculty, who is me in Sara's case, and the effectiveness and the impact it's had on you of the content that we've been covering.
Yeah, it Honestly, it feels like a way of learning a concept that doesn't feel wrong in a sense. Because I feel like with the Blackboard AI tool, like you're allowed to use AI when like I'm trying to grasp a concept for maybe a test or something. I don't want to rely on ChatGPT or other AI platforms. So I feel like this is a great like way to learn a concept and actually understand and immediately apply it right after learning the concept. Because some concepts are extremely hard to grasp, but we recently did one, I think it was on incident and accidents. And
Okay.
it was a way to understand the difference between an incident and an accident and applying it on how we can actually then solve those while understanding it at the same time, if that makes sense. So I think it's a great tool to actually learn concepts and be able to apply them immediately instead of just then going home and trying to study them by writing them down, making a PowerPoint. You can immediately talk to somebody and have a real life seeming face-to-face conversation, which I think is just extremely cool.
Cool.
And thank you so much for that, Sarah. I think, and building on that from a faculty perspective, we see the entire conversation from, hello to the end. And so what it really does too is it helps, from a faculty perspective, you're getting almost that one-on-one time. You see the entire interaction and you get an understanding of where is the student at in application of the content, right? And so for us, it's if you could sit down and spend 10 minutes with every student on every concept,
That's right,
which time-wise it doesn't allow, but now the AI role play tool allows us to do that. And at the same time, and I think Sara alluded to it as well, as we're modeling that transparent and effective ethical use of AI in the classroom and showing how we can do this and we can advance things not only with students, but with faculty as well. And so really fostering that mindset of curiosity and applying these tools at the same time.
Amazing. Yeah. And Sara and Donald, you both have kind of mentioned something that got me thinking about creative uses. And Donald, you've used it a lot. And I think every time you're in your course or thinking about your course, you're inspired. You told me you've got a whole shelf. It's just, this is the stuff I've done in my AI thing and tinkering. Can you share an example? You don't have to share like your most favorite, but one that you're really excited about or really happy with or see a lot of potential in using the AI role play tool in one of your courses.
Oh gosh, one. Well, this is like pick my favorite.
Okay,
baby. My favorite baby here.
All right, pick one out.
Let's see.
Pick your favorite baby to talk about.
Yeah, there's probably a couple. One of them is using the concept of Eli 5, which is explain like I'm 5, right? And taking any sort of difficult concept and helping the students figure out how well do you really know it, and if you can explain it like you're explaining it to a 5-year-old, can help break down the concept as well. And what the tool really did also was act as a little bit of a mentor and a tutor. This was one of the first ones that we did, talking about the benefits of good risk management, and not always the easiest to articulate. And it was something that the students had an opportunity to work through in the first session. So I really like Eli 5 because you can apply it really to any concept that you might be teaching in any portfolio or any course. I would say the other piece of it right now is individual reflections on group submissions. So can be area that opens up a lot of discussions, group work. So what I've set it up as is actually an opportunity for students to reflect on and give me feedback on what was their role in the group and how were the group dynamics. But we've also seen it where students have also, inquired back to the AI role play about some group dynamics or situations that they were kind of looking for some feedback or ideas on. And Sara, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to elaborate on there. I think you had an opportunity to utilize that particular scenario.
I've done the 5-year-old explain it to a 5-year-old and the group reflection. When I'm going to start with the explaining it to a 5-year-old, it sounds like such an easy topic to just do. And, I can explain this to a 5-year-old. I just learned it. Like, it's easy, but it gave the opportunity to be like, giving you feedback to refine it, to then make it actually understandable to maybe a 5-year-old, which it just kept on going and prompting you until it got to a satisfied point where it was like, okay, I understand this now. And then it gave us the opportunity to be like, I understand it now too more because it's been defined so many times already.
So can I just clarify and then continue, Sara? Because I was listening to Donald, you talking about Eli 5, and you were saying, like, explain it to a 5-year-old. And instantly my head was like, okay, so you've got the AI roleplay tool explaining it to a 5-year-old. But that's not what you had. You had the AI tool acting as the 5-year-old and the student. Wow. That's cool. Okay, now continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so the students had to explain it to the 5-year-old.
Okay.
So that one was interesting and really cool because you're talking to essentially a 5-year-old, but still an AI tool which has use of still complicated language. But I thought that one worked out really well. And in regards to the feedback,
maybe just before you move on there, so I would just add is like AI almost has two hats it's wearing at the same time. It's like, I'm a 5-year-old. Oh, and I can coach and tutor and mentor you on how to help like come up with a metaphor that might be. So it's kind of going back and forth. It says, okay, no, I don't really understand. Hey, Sara, you might want to think about, okay, try again. And
so good.
It's almost like AI roles play. It's kind of taking on a couple different opportunities there. So sorry, Sara, I think you were continuing on with your other scenario on group reflection.
No, that's okay. It's the smartest 5-year-old you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then with group work, I was the student who did actually question it back because about how to communicate more effectively with your group. And it provided a highly intelligent answer, which actually was a very useful solution to the issues that I was having with my group and the communication errors that we were facing. So I thought it was cool that it could provide a high level of detailed answer back to us on a problem when it has never met us because it's not an actual person, but it seemed like I was just talking to a faculty member about an issue I was having, which I thought was very useful. And it could be a great way because professors don't have the time to sit down with students, kind of like Don mentioned, one-on-one all the time. So you can have a conversation with a human that seems still like a human conversation. So I thought that was extremely interesting and insightful as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to pick your brain there, Donald. Maybe off camera we'll chat about the reflection piece. I think that's something that we talked about as one of our first, I wonder how this would work, and it showed promise. But now I've got one for my course that I might be tapping your shoulder to help me build out, which I think is part of the cool part about getting faculty to engage in this and collaborate, right? As you get those other perspectives and see what other people have learned from. I've got two examples. I won't go into either of them in great depth, but one is similar to, I think, what you're describing, where I anticipated some challenges in my class with group dynamics and just kind of put this out there as a tool to help. I call it a group dynamics coach, right? To say, hey, if you're running into problems, come here and kind of talk through it. And I saw some really, really intelligent responses to the point where I had a student who was nearly at wit's end about how to get along and work well with this group. And that ended up with the AI role play tool suggesting, it sounds like you should pull aside that one person who shows that they're wanting to work together and say something like this. And it gave an example of, what do you think about saying like this? And the student ended up like, yeah, I think that could work. So with just obviously some time building out the tool, it did a great job supporting students, and it's happened a few times across my courses. So that's been really exciting. And also just thinking about, Donald, you kind of gave this example where it can be very specific to a course, but it can also, Sara, you used the example that Judith shared with, here's an art course, and that's very niche, right? But then the Eli 5, that could be across any course. So it's not just, it doesn't have to be a niche problem. It can also be very broad strokes. So really cool. I could talk about this all day, but I think maybe we should start to think about landing the plane, since I need to respect your time, and people probably don't want to listen to a 4-hour recap on an event that was just a few weeks ago. So maybe we'll start just kind of coming back to the AI role play and thinking about moving forward. Actually, I want to, let's talk about, I'm going to turn it back to Dom and ask, like, what are you thinking about next steps and future opportunities for the AI roleplay tool? Like, where do you see this heading? I'll stop answering my own question.
It's a great question. I mean, I think we're still fairly early days. I mean, all things considered in terms of releasing the tool. I mean, this is something that we launched sort of first iteration in October of last year, and then November for the role play. And we have, I think it's about 300 institutions globally now using the tool.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of at the early stages of it. I mean, this is a great example of institution, like Georgian, kind of taking the initiative, working with faculty, getting the ideas out there. I think the initial sets of use cases that we actually heard from the kind of the skills workshop day, things like, this is great, but wouldn't it be great if we could ground it in a piece of content that we already pre-created, for example, and actually have that conversation automatically created from it? Or wouldn't it be great if, I've got some ideas of how to use the tool, but wouldn't it be great if you could kind of inspire me to take the information off my course and create a AI conversation, a role play style scenario from that? And that's actually a piece of work that we are almost complete on. So the ability for us to kind of auto-generate the AI conversation, auto-generate the avatar, the kind of the structure, be able to ground it specifically in a piece of learning content. They're areas that we're kind of finalizing. And then from that, really, it's kind of, where do we move forward? It's, how can we incorporate this into wider areas of learning? How can we leverage this alongside the existing tools we've got around things like authentic assessment, kind of providing this as both formative and a summative based engagement? And again, you can have these as items as graded or non-graded. It's entirely up to the faculty member how they want to structure it. So and we had some great feedback. I mean, one of the other ones that kind of resonated from the various conversations we had during the day was, it's a really awesome tool, but I kind of need some ideas around how to kind of stop the conversation after a point in time. How can I kind of get ideas and prompts to say, well, this is sort of, I've had a good conversation here. How do I start to close the conversation down, just like you would do in sort of a human interaction? So these are areas for us to kind of explore on and move forward on as well. But we've launched something called the AI conversation. Tell us about it. There's a kind of an opportunity for institutions globally to kind of give their feedback into how they're experiencing it. Show us some of that kind of work that's been doing out in the wider kind of educational setting. I'm sure there's going to be additional ideas that come from it. But really excited to kind of see the momentum that this particular tool's had.
Right, and we were in on the roadmap, and I believe it was Misty was sharing some of it, because it's not done, right? Like,
Sure.
I would have said, yep, this is a pretty solid and complete tool as it is, but you guys have a lot more work that you're working on. Do you want to tell us more about where you're heading there?
Yeah, I certainly can. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of if you kind of talk to me and my team, so nothing's ever done. I want to continue to iterate and improve across the board. Yeah, I think we've delivered a lot from an AI design assistant standpoint. This is obviously the first area from a student-facing perspective. We are bringing in things such as the ability for, if institutions are leveraging kind of the content designer, so faculty are kind of leveraging different layouts of their learning content. They kind of want to have auto-generated layouts or kind of suggestions, have the AI do that for them, suggesting things like knowledge checks. Again, it goes back to that topic of middle ground of appropriateness. What are the most impactful things that are not necessarily high risk, but actually provide efficiency saving? We're also experimenting with areas such as the ability for the system to kind of think about kind of generalized potential feedback and things like that. I mean, these are early areas of a kind of our interaction that we want to kind of think about, and again, interacting with institutions globally around how that looks like. But yeah, lots of key areas just to focus on. Things such as leveraging workflows around things like a smarter system. That was part of the roadmap as well. Think about the concept of having a potential kind of solution to support kind of that interaction as you're kind of building your course out, kind of potential triggers to initiate conversations or potential to trigger kind of different workflows with students as well inside that particular course. So lots of area of focus, but yeah, really excited about really kind of where AI is going to take us, and obviously that thought leadership that we're trying to push forward on.
Yeah, awesome. Sara, I'm going to ask this question to you because you are the student, and I think this is when I built the group's dynamics coach, this thought echoed in my head, and Donald, maybe you had the same thought, and I welcome anybody's perspective, but I'll start with Sara. Do you feel like, and please be honest, because I think a lot of instructors might be in this boat where they think I can build this, but like, am I just dehumanizing the experience for my students? Like, oh, I'm just offloading this to a chat bot to kind of respond to these questions or to work through this challenge with the students?
I think no, because I feel like it's the opportunity to possibly problem solve it without actually having to immediately run to your professor and explain the whole process and what has been happening, when you can talk to have another conversation with something that can stay more private and possibly provide the solution without having to get faculty involved who actually knows each student that could be involved in this group dynamic, when it could just be talking to one who doesn't know the full group dynamic, who kind of can provide insights and stuff without a bias at all.
Awesome. Donald, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for...
Did you wrestle with that thought, or is it just me and I'm totally projecting this on everybody else?
No, I think for anytime we use, tools, it's are we reducing that human effect on the relationship that we build with students? And for me, it's an opportunity to not only advance it, but accelerate it, right? Again, as I mentioned earlier, seeing where students are at, but then also you can take the time to build on those conversations. And I'd have to say that's one thing that I've learned. It's not just do it and be done. There's opportunities to have additional dialogue there.
Right,
and so I think for faculty, it's understanding, why do you want to use AI? And then we can figure out the how best to structure the role play, for example. But it's the, what are we trying to do? And sometimes we say, well, AI is going to eliminate critical thinking, but this is an opportunity to utilize it to advance critical thinking. And so I think it's really understanding, how do we want to use it? Why do we want to use it? But building on and strengthening that personal relationship. People are revealing things in there that I didn't know, what things that they're involved in, how they might apply it to what they want to do outside of school. So I think you learn some additional insights, and there's opportunities to springboard off the content and the interactions that are provided there.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think that's how you frame it is key, right? Like, it's not, and you're kind of making this point, Donald, that if it's the group dynamics or it's a reflection, it's not like, okay, you've brought your challenge and got a solution from the AI tool, or you've done your reflection and that's the end of it. It's then like, this is a tool to help, like, at least this is how I think we've both been using it. This is a tool to help me gather all the information and get more insight, and so that I can support you better, or so that I better understand. Because you can, as you said, we don't have time to have that big conversation with every student, but we can certainly use the AI roleplay tool to make ourselves available to facilitate that conversation when it's required, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even things like, there's presentations coming up. So I set up a role play where the role play AI is a world Toastmaster champion, and is there to just offer feedback of how to prepare for their presentation. So also like a coach and a guide that can be there for students to turn to rather than searching anywhere. And then you can sort of give what bullets and points do you want it to reinforce, or not at all. You could just say, you're going to have a talk with this person, and what are you curious about? So whether it's how to present it or how to summarize, whatever it might be. So really giving multiple opportunities for students, whether they reach out to you personally, but I think sometimes people prefer to be able to go, what, it's 3 a.m. I'd like to get an answer right now. That's outside of my office hours. So,
oh, really?
But
you're not always available then, eh?
AI Roleplay doesn't take any time off. So that's another opportunity, is it's available when students need it to be available. Awesome.
Okay, last question, and then I think we should wrap up. And I think this is a nice, easy one, since if folks are still listening. For faculty who have yet to explore AI, and I'll just kind of make this an open question and we can share our thoughts. What would you say to an instructor who's apprehensive about it, thinking about it, but hasn't taken hasn't made that leap yet?
You know what? I'll start this one off. I would say,
yes.
Start small and experiment, and really come with that explorer's mindset of how might we versus why can't we. I think when you test it out with the students and you get their feedback, you know what? It's okay. We'll get better as well. And when we're transparent, I ask the students all the time for feedback. And apparently, I haven't quite learned yet that piece that Don was talking about of like, how do we close off the conversation? I feel like sometimes we get going on this AI role play, and for you and I, Liam, we may be able to use that coaching from AI soon. How do we wrap this up? But I think start small, learn and experiment, and get feedback from the students. And I think you'll be surprised from a faculty perspective how receptive the students are, and how much they'll offer their thoughts and guidance, and they want to grow as well. And it's a great opportunity.
Amazing. Sara, Don?
Sara.
I think from the student perspective, I would say just try one with a student. You can always sit down with anybody and just get them to make a situation and just try to answer it to the best of their ability. Because going again back to the art piece, I knew nothing about that art piece, and I actually ended up coming home and doing a bunch of research on it because I thought it was interesting, but I knew nothing. So just try to start with something simple, start with something basic, and just try to do it with one student. Just get a student to bounce. No opinion's wrong. And it's just trial and error.
Amazing. Cool. How about you, Don? Any advice?
Well, I love what Donald and Sara said. I would agree, start small. I think that the thing for us is you have an opportunity of testing this out within a guardrail. So essentially, this is something that you have control over. I think that's the big thing to highlight. I would also have the open conversation with your colleagues internally. Talk to your learning technology team, or talk to your peers, because there's definitely people at the institution who are starting to kind of push this forward. I mean, Donald, you're a bit of a pioneer on this one, and I look to your Donalds in your institution and kind of have that conversation, start thinking about it, and again, start small. But then, if there's opportunities, you want further questions, feel free to reach out to us at Anthology as well. We're more than happy to help.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for joining me. I think we should wrap up here. And I guess come join us as far as reaching out for help, faculty Blackboard support. We'd be happy to support you with the AI roleplay tool and other features in Blackboard. It sounds, based on feedback and those folks who were unable to join us at our event, we're lamenting and hoping that we do an encore presentation. So we'll explore our best way to facilitate that. So stay tuned if you're looking for that. But yeah, I think that on that note, lots of really amazing insights. So thank you all. Thank you, Dom, Sara, Donald, for joining us and sharing your experience and insights, and encouraging folks to consider the AI roleplay tool. Thanks, Colleen, for making this all work. It's nice not to have to press the buttons. So thank you. You do a lot there. So thank you for facilitating that. Folks, if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like the video. If you like to keep up with what's going on in Blackboard Ultra and other EdTech here at Georgian College, subscribe to our channel. And don't forget that faculty, if you are here at Georgian College, we do our drop-in sessions every Tuesday and Friday at 10:30 a.m. If you're looking to join that, the link is in the Blackboard calendar. Can't make any promises that Donald or Sara will be there, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so on that note, thanks, Dom. Thanks, Sara. Thank you, Donald, for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We hope you have a great day.